Hello, I am Dr. Seema Dande. In this video, we will discuss about the new guideline on small for gestational age babies. So there are various definitions related to this. Number one is what is appropriate for gestational age. When the estimated fetal weight and the abdominal circumference is between 10th and 90th centile, that is known as appropriate for gestational age. Small for gestational age means when the estimated fetal weight and the AC is less than 10th centile. Fetal growth restriction means when the estimated fetal weight and the AC is less than 3rd centile. It is also classified as when the estimated fetal weight is less than 10th centile associated with Doppler abnormalities. Now, what is static growth? It is when there is no forward growth velocity in estimated fetal weight or AC measured at least 14 days apart. It is also described as early FGR, which is before 31 plus 6 weeks of gestation, and late FGR, that is after 32 weeks of gestation. Now, let us discuss the various risk factors which are associated with this. The most important is previous history of fetal growth restriction and previous history of SGA, previous history of stillbirth, previous history of hypertensive disorders, previous history of conditions where there is placental abnormalities like placental abruption or inappropriate fetal weight, previous preterm births or mid-trimester loss. There are other factors like maternal age, which is more than or equal to 40, maternal BMI, which is less than 18.5 kilograms per meter square, maternal history of smoking, maternal history of cocaine use, maternal history of alcohol, recreational drugs. Even e-cigarettes is also considered as a risk factor equivalent to smoking if the ppm is more than 4. If these risk factors are there, then we will classify these women into either low risk, moderate risk and high risk. If there are no risk factors at all, then she is low risk. In such cases, we will just do the anomaly scan in the mid trimester, and if the fetal weight is more than 10th centile, then we will just monitor her by the symphysiofundal height and no monitoring is required. If she is having moderate risk factors, which includes previous history of SGA, previous history of stillbirth, but there is the stillbirth was for appropriate gestational age, previous history of preterm birth or mid-trimester loss, maternal age more than 40 or equal to 40, BMI less than 18.5, some eating disorders, gastric bypass surgery. So these all factors are moderate risk factors. In this, we will do the anomaly scan in the mid trimester, and a single symphysiofundal height measurement is taken at 28 weeks of gestation, and we will monitor these by the serial ultrasound scan from 32 weeks onwards every 4 weekly. Now there is a condition when there is no risk factor in the initial history taking, but some risk factors develop as she goes on in pregnancy. In such cases, we have to monitor depending on the risk factors which are developed by the serial scans. How do we classify as high risk? If she has a history of chronic kidney disease, autoimmune conditions like SLE or APLA, if there is history of diabetes, hypertension, previous history of hypertension, previous history of FGR, that is fetal growth restriction, previous stillbirth where the stillbirth was because of SGA, that is included in this. And because in moderate there was also stillbirth, but it was appropriate for gestational age. In this, there is previous stillbirth which is because of small for gestational age. Now the biochemical markers like the PAP-A, the values less than 5th centile. Then the other biochemical markers like the alpha fetoprotein and the inhibin levels which is more than 2 multiples of median. So this is also a high risk factor. Then presence of echogenic bowel, plus presence of heavy bleeding in the pregnancy which needs repeated admission. So this is also one of the high risk factor, or single umbilical artery as well. So these patients they undergo surveillance, and we start them with the 150 milligrams of aspirin. It should be started before 16 weeks, and then we monitor by the uterine artery Doppler. So the further management is depending on the uterine artery Doppler, as we can see from the chart. If the uterine artery Doppler is normal, and the estimated fetal weight is more than 10 centile, then serial ultrasound scan from 32 weeks onwards every 2 to 4 weekly till delivery. If the uterine artery Doppler is normal but the estimated fetal weight is less than 10 centile, then we monitor from 26 to 28 weeks of gestation every 2 to 4 weekly. Third is when there is abnormal uterine artery Doppler and the estimated fetal weight is more than 10 centile. In this, serial scans from 28 weeks onwards till delivery. And if there is abnormal uterine artery Doppler and the weight is also less than 10 centile, in this we have to discuss with the fetal medicine unit. Now there is a fifth category when we cannot do the symphysiofundal height measurement. It is because of three conditions: either she is obese, or there is a huge fibroid, or there is some congenital uterine anomaly. So if there is congenital uterine anomaly, we will monitor from 28 weeks onwards. There is no role of uterine artery Doppler in this. We will do the monitoring from 26 to 28 weeks every 2 to 4 weekly, and if the size is not measurable because of fibroid or obesity, then from 32 weeks onwards. So the indications of uterine artery Doppler are mid-trimester fetal biometry and estimated fetal weight which is less than 10 centile. If normal, then we will repeat the scans in 3 to 4 weeks, and if abnormal, we will refer to the fetal medicine unit. And if there is low PAP-A, high AFP and inhibin, then we will start aspirin and surveillance. Now let us see the charts, and accordingly we will manage the pregnancies by the umbilical artery Doppler and the biometry. If there is early FGR, that is up to 32 weeks of gestation, we will do the estimated fetal weight fortnightly and we will do the Doppler weekly. Now there are three categories: 24 to 25 weeks, 26 to 28 plus 6 weeks and 29 to 31 plus 6 weeks. So we are doing the biometry every fortnightly and umbilical artery Doppler every week. So if there is some problem in the umbilical artery Doppler, like there is absence or reduction in the end-diastolic flow, we will increase the monitoring to twice weekly umbilical artery Doppler, plus we will include in this computerized CTG and ductus venosus Doppler. As we know that 24 to 25 plus 6 weeks, in this the chances of survival are very less, so we will individualize the care. Between 26 to 28 weeks, we will deliver if there is in the ductus venosus Doppler, if the A wave is absent and the short term variability in the computerized CTG is less than 2.6 milliseconds. Similarly, in 29 to 31 plus 6 weeks, we will deliver if there is absence of A wave in the ductus venosus Doppler and the STV is less than 3 milliseconds. In such conditions, we have to deliver the baby by 32 weeks if there is reversal of end-diastolic flow, and if there is absence of end-diastolic flow, we can deliver by 34 weeks. Now let us see between 32 to 36 plus 6 weeks. So from 32 to 33 plus 6 weeks, we have to deliver if there is absence of A wave in the ductus venosus Doppler and the STV is less than 3.5 milliseconds. So till 34 weeks the ductus venosus is important. After that ductus venosus is not important, and we have to do the umbilical artery PI score and the middle cerebral artery. So from 34 to 36 plus 6 weeks, if the umbilical artery Doppler is the PI is more than 95th centile, we have to monitor minimum twice weekly by the computerized CTG, and we have to deliver if the STV is less than 4.5 milliseconds or absence of end diastolic flow. We have to deliver by 36 to 36 plus 6 weeks if the PI is more than 95th centile umbilical artery. In computerized CTG, we have to deliver if spontaneous repeated decelerations are there or maternal indications. Now, when we come to know about the fetal growth restriction at term, that is from 37 weeks onwards, again we are doing the same umbilical artery Doppler and biometry. So 37 to 38 weeks, we have to deliver if the AC or estimated fetal weight is less than 3rd centile by 37 plus 6 weeks, which is suggestive of fetal growth restriction. So we have to deliver if there are any signs of cerebral redistribution or Doppler abnormalities, and if it is SGA, then we can deliver by 39 weeks. and if it is detected at 39 weeks, so delivery if SGA is there by 39 plus 6 weeks. So we have to deliver if there are spontaneous repeated decelerations on the computerized CTG, maternal indications, STV less than 4.5 and absence or reversal of end diastolic flow in umbilical artery. They can be delivered vaginally. Induction of labor is also allowed, but if there is abnormal computerized CTG and STV and ductus venosus alteration and umbilical artery absence or reverse end diastolic flow, then cesarean section is recommended. So this is all about the new guideline of SGA. If you like the content of my channel, please subscribe to my channel and don't forget to hit the like button. Thank you.